It looks for all the world like LSU is trying to have its cake and eat it too with its firing of Brian Kelly, as they have stated now that they have fired Brian Kelly for cause. Except to all the world, that doesn't look like it was for cause at all. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think that losing football games is getting fired for cause at the collegiate level, the Power 4 level, at a place where they expect to win national championships like LSU? Because if you do, you're probably the LSU Board of Supervisors and its new athletic director in Wade Roos. Now, Roos is in an interesting spot. He was the athletic director at McNeese State before, the new president, Wade Roos, who was the president at McNeese State before becoming the president at LSU. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, my goodness, we are rewriting what it means to fire for cause. So fired for cause in the contract is, did you do something detrimental to the university? Usually something off the field, like you catch a felony charge. That's fired for cause, right? It is murky when we talk about extramarital affairs, right? Fired for cause. Maybe you got a morality clause in there, like say your head coach at BYU for not, or maybe Notre Dame, some place where they take it very, very seriously. At a place like Louisiana, fired for cause, dog, that is one of the most criminally corrupt state governments that we've ever had in the United States. And that's just, that's all out opinion, but it's an opinion for which I can point to Huey Long and David Duke, and I can stop right there. I don't have to go anywhere else, right? But we also have a long history of Louisiana governors getting involved in LSU football. Huey Long famously tried to call plays from the sideline, and when he couldn't, he saw that head coach was fired. You saw Jeff Landry get up out here and say, all right, Scott Woodward ain't going to be picking the next head coach to be at LSU, in which case, a few days later, Scott Woodward's no longer the athletic director at LSU. This is how it works down there. It get political quick, fast, and in a hurry. So now that they owe Brian Kelly $54 million for firing him for losing football games, 3 and 4, they're trying to get out of paying him the buyout because they really want to use that money to buy Lane Kiffin, his contract, to be, I think, LSU's next head coach. Whether or not that happens, we're cart before the horse. But it very clearly seems like the LSU Board of Supervisors wants to tie this thing up in court, particularly Louisiana court, until such a time as they get into a spot where they feel like they got a little bit more money to play with. Because if you kick this can down the road, you ain't got to start paying this man all this money, and you can use this money to start paying your new head coach, and maybe you get a judgment that's a little less. Because they're trying to settle with Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly's no. You're going to pay me the full amount. Because now it's about principalities. It's principalities in this. Principles at work. And you're not just going to be firing me to fire me, right? Without giving me my money. Like to fire the man and then say, we don't owe you any money. That's loud. We've never seen that in the age of the buyout in college football. So according to the Advocate, Baton Rouge newspaper, LSU board member John Caramouche asked the board to authorize Roos, president, in consultation with general counsel to review and, if appropriate, send Brian Kelly written notice of termination under his employment of agreement. The request was passed without objection, meaning they are all on board with this. So in the lawsuit, which was filed in the Judicial District Court in Baton Rouge by Kelly's attorneys, seeking to get, his money, that wasn't fired with cause, to avoid that, we wasn't fired with cause. We was fired. That means they owe us the $54 million buyout. So the lawsuit is asking a state judge to make a declaratory judgment that Kelly was terminated without cause and is owed his full buyout, right? This is why they have sent this letter now. But before November 10th, there was no question about whether or not Brian Kelly was fired with cause, because he wasn't. He got fired for losing football games, which means you paid a buyout. So this is according to Brian Kelly's attorneys. LSU has never claimed that Coach Kelly was terminated for cause, and prior to November 10th, 2025, never asserted that he engaged in any conduct that would warrant such a termination. Cool. To contrary, the LSU repeatedly confirmed, but both publicly and to Coach Kelly, that the termination was due to the team's performance, not for cause. Again, for cause is, did you hurt somebody in a way that we can't have you being a head coach no more because it's a bad look? If you're talking about LSU fans and their pride, then yeah, sure, maybe, but that ain't falling under the bounds of this contract. So the lawsuit said that Kelly has previously rejected lump sums of $25 million and $30 million from LSU. Boo-hoo, you owe him $54 million. You're asking him to take less than half to start, and then a little more than half to second. And then you got a governor out here who's really muddied the waters on this for you by saying, yo, we don't like this one-sided deal for Coach Kelly. It wasn't a one-sided deal for Coach Kelly. It's the going rate for a football coach of his pedigree. That's how these things go. I think most LSU fans get this, and they're not even mad about it, right? Because LSU fans like me, like you, they ain't got to pay this buyout. They don't give a damn. They didn't really like Brian Kelly, and it was clear that Brian Kelly didn't really like Louisiana. He just liked LSU football and what it might be able to do for him, which win a national championship. When that was very clear wasn't going to happen in 2025, LSU said, I can't take this no more. I need you to get up out of here. Really what Scott Woodward said, I want you to fire your offensive staff, right? And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. I would like to make other changes. To which Scott Woodward was like, no, Blake Baker's great, among others. Fire the offensive staff. He's like, I'm not doing that. In which case, he got heated, and I'm sure Scott Woodward would just hit the button and said, okay, cool, we'll go get somebody else. To which that comes out, not that they're going to get somebody else, but that they're going to owe him $54 million because they want to go get somebody else. And that rises to the level of the governor because, well, the governor's got the same donors that donate to LSU football. And right now, the thing we all care about more is LSU football than we do, politics, or politics is LSU football. Famously, the two most favorite contact sports in Louisiana, politics, football, but football before politics. It just goes like that. I'm also going to go out here and say the next head coach at LSU, if it is Lane Kiffin, you're going to get something like this because Lane Kiffin doesn't exit places gracefully. I don't know if you know that or not. He got run out on a rail at Tennessee. He got left on a tarmac at USC. At Ole Miss, or let me forget I get to Ole Miss. At Alabama, he started calling plays they hadn't run in practice in a college football playoff semifinal game. Then gets up and leaves for Florida Atlantic, goes to Ole Miss. And then at Ole Miss, it's looking like he got to answer questions about whether or not he's going to even get to coach the Egg Bowl next week because he's handled this so poorly by just not saying, I'm the head coach at Ole Miss, and then moving the shadows. This has been wild to watch because I have seen this mismanaged by so many people I wouldn't otherwise think are smart. But apparently, until you got to do what I do, where you got to talk in front of people for a living, back that up, have some facts, and say the right thing from the jump, they ain't got that skill set. Matter of fact, maybe it sounds like you need somebody to do some public speaking for you. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's supposed to be your head coach. Maybe hire a dude that could do that and also hire an athletic director to do that, but that ain't really how Louisiana gets down. It gets down with who's going to make me feel good. Let me tell you something. Ed Orgeron made you feel good. What'd you do to him?